Hello there, thanks so much for tuning in. So I'm Tim and this is a channel all about my hobbies, and today we've got a 2 for 1. We've got Lego and we've got board games. This is the Lego Heroica board game, which was released in August 2011 and then discontinued only like 2.5 years later at the end of 2013. Technically, this big box is called Castle Fortaan and it's like the base set, the main set out of a series of Lego board games. It was joined by 4 expansions overall, a polybag expansion, which I believe is Canada only, ridiculously hard to get a hold of, and some card packs as well for heroes. They're not particularly relevant or needed or available. So far I only have one of these expansions, Waldorf Forest, which I bought on eBay actually from one of my friends. I'll link his amazing shop down in the description for you, and I'll add a link to the video up above and down below when I get around to making the video for this expansion as well. Depending on when you're watching this, I'll potentially be the proud owner of another 2 of the expansions because I did find some listings whilst on eBay when I was procrastinating from writing this script. So on the box it says that it is, where is it gone? Which side is it? There it is, for 2 to 4 players. And yeah, you don't really want to go above 4 players, it would get pretty cramped. You each play as a hero and the baddies are all automated, which does mean actually that you could have a really good solo game, a solitaire version of this. You could work it out to do that, to play on your own if you wanted to or needed to. For Lego geeks out there, it is set number 3860, and down in the description I'll put the link to the brick set page for it. It's a relatively small build with 304 pieces. Doesn't actually say that on the box, but it is 304 pieces. And it originally cost £19.95. Now this is my actual original copy, which I did buy brand new from the Lego store in Cardiff. So that's what I would have paid for this at the time. And actually when you think about that, 20 quid for a board game with as much sort of changeability as fun as Lego entails, that's not bad, is it really? So yeah, the concept of a Lego board game just really grabbed my attention, especially one set in kind of like this fantasy realm that Heroica is set in. The dungeon type vibes that it was giving off were like super strong, like Hero Quest, Warhammer Quest style of like conjuring up imagination. What I also really love is that there's a small but like it seems like extremely dedicated UGC sort of group, user generated content like new dungeons, new builds, etc. for this game, and it's being kept alive. So far I've found there's a subreddit r/Heroica where people are posting their mocks and all kinds of stuff on there. It's really cool, a little bit quiet but really cool. And there's also a Discord server which I've joined. I've said hello, but I haven't really explored any of the channels so far really in it, but it looks like there's a wealth of information and yeah, a fair number of active users. I guess though that it would be best to actually get the bricks out, build it, and show you what I'm actually talking about, what this game involves. So, Heroica uses the microscale minifigures, and it was around this era that they really came into their own and started being used. I don't know if this was when they actually originated. And then there's the dice, and there were quite a few Lego board games released around the same time as Heroica that utilise this, and it's kind of like a squishy rubber with 2x2 plates on it, and you can chop and change the dice to have all kinds of different things. Minotaurus, Atlantis, something like that, Harry Potter, they all use these kinds of dice and micro figures, and they all came and went just like Heroica. This really was such a cool concept, Lego and board games. I just don't really understand how it fizzled out as much as it did, especially like if they just kept going another few years, like for the board game boom that we've had in sort of like the past 5-10 maybe years, they would have struck gold with this. So the main concept of the game is that you play as one of 4 heroes, and they're represented by a different colour micro figure, and you basically need to battle through all of the various rooms and corridors and things like that, outdoor areas. And you're taking on monsters, which are also represented by micro figures, and sometimes other things like little bats and so on. You're going around, you're collecting treasures as well, which I believe, I'll have to refresh myself, are the little gold cones, and you're collecting potions, and I checked and I'm actually missing one. I'm missing the red potion, but there's little ones, 1x1 blocks with little discs on the top that do various different things in the rules. And you grab weapons as well. There's a whole weapon rack with like swords, an axe, a bow, etc. that you can pick up to like level up your character that you're playing. And then the idea is that you make your way to the end spot, and in this one it's signified by the red tile, and defeat the enemy, the final boss, depending on the quest, I guess, really. It really is like a mini RPG, like a dungeon crawler, where each of these characters has their own special abilities depending on which class of hero they are. There's the barbarian, the wizard, the druid, and the knight. And the 3 monsters in this game are 3 differing levels of goblin, represented by green, sort of grey, silver, and gold for the head goblin. So the expansions add like an amazing amount of depth to this. You get werewolves, bats, like I just mentioned. You even get a dark druid as well to fight against. So there's actually a whole load of lore and backstory that comes with each of the box sets of Heroica. Each box comes with a comic strip which covers some of the details of what's going on, and each of the boxes, like Castle Fortaan, is named after a specific region in this land, this kingdom. There's a whole wiki online filled with all of this lore and background and fluff, but for the life of me I can't find the original source material. It possibly and probably came from the long now defunct Heroica website that would have been in action at this time when the game was being created, and I guess that's probably a job for the Wayback Machine if I ever find myself with a few spare minutes on my hands. The game is created by joining the sort of square, the main tiles, with these longer, thinner path bits, and they just clip together, and it's designed that there's an overhang on the builds so they can go together in pretty much any different way that you like. So the possibilities really are endless, almost. I mean, there's probably going to be 1,000 or so permutations, but for all intents and purposes, endless. So Castle Fortaan, again in this comic strip fold out, comes with 3 layouts that the Lego designers have created that you can follow to sort of prescribed ways to lay out all of the game parts, so that you can kind of work through the missions that they create, and it even tells you where to place the goblins and the potions and the keys to unlock the keys as well. I haven't mentioned those yet. There's little gates. Don't know if it'll focus on that, but you get little gates and then you have to find the key to unlock them. But whilst it comes with 3 different layouts, you can just use your own imagination, and in the rulebook, which is another one of the bits that you get 3 bits of paperwork. You get the rulebook, which is a lot thicker than it really should be, but it comes in multiple languages. You also get the building instructions and parts list, and then the comic strip and layout sort of fold out part. But in the rulebook it even encourages and mentions that you should have a go at building up your own layouts and even just completely making up your own rules. So what I really love about the design of the tiles is the way that the colours change depending on your locations. So there's green ones to represent forests, and they've even gone to the trouble of having different colour greens on here to really show the differences on the moving around. We've got bits that are on blue with brown to represent kind of like tracks and trails going over rivers and streams and the sea. We've got grey bits which are sort of indoors or dungeony kind of bits, and then we've got like this black tile which, to be honest, I can't remember what it represents, but it's just really, really cool that there's so much variety in such a simple mechanism of having 6x6 squares with 2x2 one stud pieces placed on top of them. And this is something that the expansions really sort of build up on with the Waldark Forest. Obviously, forest in the name, we get an awful lot more of the green style pieces and a lot less of the sort of the greys in here. And I don't think, looking at it, we get any of the blues really, except for the waterfall, which is really cool. Like I say, stay tuned for this unboxing and going over when that happens. So I had a quick scout around, obviously, before making this video here on YouTube to see what kind of content there was available for budding Heroica enthusiasts. And to be honest, there's not a huge amount, but what there is absolutely amazing content. People going over their own designs, their builds, their mocks, and the rules that they've created, and some of them are absolutely amazing. You can probably tell from this that it's quite a flat game really. There's very little in terms of elevation for your heroes to be climbing up and down. There's just a couple here with steps on, but doesn't really play a large part in the game. Some people have gone overboard with full-on 3D adventures, which are absolutely amazing. Doing that though, you do lose a lot of the modularity and the flexibility, but I guess it swings and roundabouts. What you gain in coolness, you lose in flexibility and sort of replayability, but at a random level, I guess. So towards the end of the rules as well, they mention something called Epic Heroica, and not to be confused with Epic 40k because it's already at a micro scale, but this is kind of like the concept of chaining various run-throughs of this game together to create a campaign, which is something that I imagine that you would imagine that I would absolutely love, and you'd be right. So the way that it suggests that you do it is that you keep all of the sort of weapons and the gold and the potions that you accumulate from playthrough to playthrough. In my mind, that would mean that gradually it would just become too easy, that you just would instantly be able to overpower the new monsters that you come across in further missions because they're not really leveling up with you. And this is where community rules come in, and like I said, in the Reddit and the Discord, there's all kinds of homebrew rule sets to encompass this, and you would imagine it would be something along the Hero Quest, Warhammer Quest lines really, and it's something that I'm very excited to delve into. I used to love making my own missions and writing rule sets for Hero Quest, so I am really sad that this game system got discontinued, and so quickly at that. Official support always helps when keeping a community alive, and yes, I've mentioned about the somewhat thriving as well as they can do communities that I have found as part of the Heroica scene. I'm going to call it a scene, why not? And I am thankful to the other small number of creators that have been making videos, to the participants in the online forums and places where us Heroica fans are hanging out and talking about it. Just in making this video, researching it, writing the script, it really has rekindled my fire and my passion for this game. And as I said, I'm going to be making a video for each of the expansions as and when I get hold of them. Shouldn't be too long, fingers crossed, touch wood, that my eBaying will be fruitful and I'll be able to get hold of all of them in time. I'd really love to hear from you in the comments. Did you ever play this game? Did you ever see it and pick it up, or see it, decide that you weren't going to pick it up and then poof, it was gone? Have you created any rules, any homebrew missions for it, any custom builds? Anyway, I'm off to go and check out the Discord and get chatting about Heroica. I'm really excited to piece this together, have a run through, quite possibly with Rach, my wife, which would be really exciting. And I'll add links, like I say, to everything from the Bricklink to the Reddit to the Discord, etc., all down in the description as well. Up on screen there's a couple of videos that you might be interested in taking a look at next. Please don't forget to slap that like button, double check to see if you are subscribed to the channel or not before moving along on your way. Take care of yourselves, and I'll catch you very soon on the next video. Cheers everyone.